James is having omelet again, so it's made from spinach, Boursin, and that naturey stuff. I'm having soy milk, and James is also having dandelion juice in the jar. And I'm going to put the camera in here so that it doesn't get too hot. And we're reviewing Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz.
Oh yeah, right.
So, what did you think about the pictures?
I think they're great. The first Wizard of Oz book, published 1900, the pictures weren't that great, but this I'm pretty sure is a different artist or someone who really improved significantly in the 8 years or so between the first and this one, which is the fourth one.
Yeah, we should be looking into that, who the artists are, because
they are advertised.
They were good. The artist did a good job in the one with TikTok. What was that one called?
Ozma of Oz?
Oh, Ozma, yeah.
Is that the one?
Yeah, that is it.
I think that was the third one.
So, anyway.
Well, this thing says 1980, which is just not...
I'll try to figure it out for you if you want.
So it's put out by Coles, which was pretty dumpy.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember that story.
Thing.
Anyway.
You
Okay.
wanna tell people what happens a little bit in that one, but don't give all the suspense.
Well, it's should I tell them anything about what happens? Because it's kind of fun. The beginning, finding
some
out
of the characters. I don't know.
Okay.
Because that's kind of like what I like about them. No?
Well,
about the series.
what character did you like in that one? Did you like any in Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz?
I like the cat. I think the best. Quite a character. But you don't like cats as much as I do.
Was the cat in that one? Boy, I'm having a hard time.
I think that's the cat there. It looks a little bit like a dog in the illustration.
You're right. The cat was in there because there were. Yeah. You're right.
But there's some very nice color pictures in this.
I didn't like the cat. I didn't like the cat at all.
Well, I preferred Bellina in the previous one.
Mm-hmm.
Bellina the chicken. Awesome character. But the cat was it was hungry for food. Animal food.
Yeah.
I kind of like Jim the horse, you know? He got things done. I don't think he got quite the respect.
I mean, you get the pictures, which they were nice pictures in the copy. Like how James and I are doing it, he's reading it in the next room, I'm reading it. You know, we're reading it back and forth to each other.
Yeah.
But I don't see his pictures.
Yeah.
So I have another copy, and the copy that I have that I'm reading out of doesn't have any pictures. So it's not nearly as fun.
Yeah, sometimes I explain maybe what the picture.
Yes.
But I think my all-time favorite characters, this aside from Bellina the chicken, which was someone told her to shoe in this first story she was in.
Shoe yourself.
Shoe yourself, she said.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
I liked
she
her.
got into a fight, and she said she had one eye kind of hanging out. She looked like,
James is exaggerating.
well, it was, what
She
did they
was-
say about her eye, though?
She was. I don't remember. She was beat up, but I don't think they said it was hanging out.
Anyway, she was quite proud of herself for getting in this fight. I think Foley says she was beating up on a rooster, and the rooster kind of beat up on her too. But she says afterwards, "I did him up brown, didn't I?" She's really proud of herself. Anyway, I like the sawhorse.
She won the fight. But anyway, I didn't like this story.
Oh yeah.
I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. There was really nothing I liked about it.
Yeah.
So it's
I like the way she called gargoyles gurgles.
okay. That was kind of cute.
I thought the kid was a bit of a loss, Zeb.
Yep.
not much of a character there. I can't think of one distinguishing characteristic about it. I like the fact the horse was kind of a mangy, older cab horse or something like that. A little bit run down.
Okay.
Whatever. I didn't like the way the vegetables got carved up there. It's kind of gruesome.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't know. It had its moments. I like the race between the sawhorse and Jim.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to tell you what happened, but yeah, I kind of liked it. Every one of these has different
Characters and things like that.
All right.
I like the TikTok, the mechanical man.
And the
Way he
other
talks.
he's very much like Pierre Poilievre. Very much like he should. Pierre sounds like a mechanism.
Mm.
Just one with no heart, no brain.
Anyway, this is the first time James has tried this brand of egg because I haven't bought eggs in a long time, and this is not what I would buy. But I did this time because I got them for, I think it was $2.50 for a dozen eggs, and that's pretty cheap. And but honestly, like James said, I love the way the omelet smells when it's cooking, and I don't.
Is it the omega
It's
stuff
awful.
or the?
Yeah, it's the omega stuff that makes it even worse for me because I can smell the.
That day, I was very hungry.
So you
really
can.
hadn't had much of
Can you
it.
taste the omega stuff in it?
It's because of the cheese.
Oh, okay.
I think I might be a little bit disgusted
Yeah.
if it weren't for the
Because I
cheese.
can smell it. It
Yeah.
doesn't smell good.
Well, my experience has been guys just don't have the same sense of smell.
Yeah.
There are advantages.
But there are disadvantages too.
So I don't know. I guess they must feed the chickens flax seeds or something to make that. Give them more omega.
Who knows? Well,
One would hope it's flax
I
seeds.
hope it
Yeah,
Flax is
actually.
pretty healthy.
So you don't want your dandelion juice today?
Sometimes eggs make me. I like it. I like eating them, but if I eat them with something that I don't like, then I start to get nauseated with it.
Okay, so you want me to put that away?
Eventually,
Okay.
I don't think it's a big emergency. I see too many things wanting to chow down on that. Bugs or.
Well, I like to keep it fresh.
Yeah, actually,
Tired. We were
I
gardening
noticed
some-
yesterday I didn't drink the dandelion smoothie as quickly as I ordinarily do.
Yeah.
And people caught it on camera.
Yeah, they noticed. I was saying, Pauline is absolutely right. We get them when they're fresh.
Yeah, you gotta get it cold.
Well, what I mean is when
Oh.
when you pick them when they're young,
Yeah.
they're a whole lot less bitter.
It really makes a difference because pretty well every time we've had them before, I've gotten around to the dandelions, or you have both have a little bit later.
Yeah. Well, no, we do it earlier usually, but this
Yeah,
year,
late season.
like you notice, the tulips are just blooming right now. I mean, you might be thinking, oh wow, it's such hot weather, it's like summer already. Oh, don't count on it. I'm not putting my tomatoes out yet. So, because honestly, the tulips are just blooming now. Oftentimes, they've been blooming a month earlier than this. So,
Yeah, we've had some fairly cool weather. Unfortunately, we haven't had much moisture.
like, for the next couple days, it's not going down too low. So I'm able to keep my tomatoes out in the porch and outside and whatever. But
pretty continuously, it's been flirting with zero.
exactly. But it'll be going down to zero again, I think, Monday night or something like that. So.
So you folks in the
You gotta
United
keep an eye
States,
on it.
that's freezing. So that's 32.
Oh. Yeah.
Just so so they understand.
Mhm.
So
And yeah, I wonder if people don't read my blog because it's a WordPress thing and that's a commercial thing.
so they got to pay for it, or they're
No.
worried that you're trying to sell
Maybe
something.
yeah, I think that might be it.
Okay. Yeah, could be.
I make zero money. No, nothing. No cents. No dollars. No nothing.
And you would make
off
no
of-
money even if people were reading, right?
Yep, even if they were.
Mhm.
It wouldn't matter.
We don't do
Because
stuff
I would
for
have to
money.
pay WordPress in order for to make money off of. Then if I paid them, I would have the option of making money off of the ads that they put on my site, or I'd have the option of putting no ads, and that's what I would do. If I paid them, I would tell them no ads,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah, that
I
seems
don't want
brutal.
people to have to be subject to ads, right? But
It really is. I don't know how people put up with the internet.
I know
Just
it's so frustrating. But so maybe if I have money one day, then I'll pay so that people don't have to have ads when they look at my stuff. I don't make any money.
Yeah, every so occasionally. Well, it was a long time. I guess about 5 years. I wasn't on the internet.
Mm.
Living proof you could survive. Probably thrive without being on the internet. But done a little bit of research for the last few months. I try to get that over and done with as soon as possible.
Mm.
And it's kind of mind-numbing, you know. You'll see something like Prince Charles. Something will flash up. Prince Charles' weird eating habits.
Who cares?
But you kind of maybe I want to check. Well, whatever.
John Travolta doesn't like dogs.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess maybe it draws people's attention. Maybe some people care about that. It is funny though. All right. Well,
Well, there'll be stuff that is semi-interesting to someone with an actual brain.
so
And a lot of it is
Dinosaurs wiped out by meteorite collision. Brand new news.
yeah.
We've known that for 40 years now.
Mm.
45, right?
All right. Well, I don't have anything else to talk about. Do you?
What was that? Separation. What do you think of Alberta separating from Canada?
What, they're talking about it again?
Well, Danielle Smith seems to be very serious about getting a petitions together to have a referendum on it here in Alberta. And Scott Nomo in Saskatchewan, another flunky, is making. Well, he says he won't stand in the way of people getting together a petition, but he's not coming out so strong.
I want to emphasize about Danielle Smith. After Mark Carney, and pretty quickly after he was elected, she came out saying all sorts of nasty things about him.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them only borderline true. And I was sitting there thinking, she's never said anything that nasty about Donald Trump, or that nasty about or that. She had 9 points or something like that. That's why I call her Donald Trump's call girl. And I was mentioning, I think yesterday, that Sarah Palin and her husband in particular were something like, at least her husband was something like an Alaskan separatist. If you folks want to go independent, and really what's in the back of a lot of people's minds, we want to be the 51st state here in Alberta. Maybe we join up with Saskatchewan. You are going to be exploited. American companies, America generally, so badly. You'll be crying to become independent from them. Maybe not come back to Canada because it's a little bit too democratic for you. And I'm not talking about capital D democratic, small d democratic. Understand, Alberta's been a scumbag province ever since 1935 when we elected. Not even a crypto-fascist government. We had that there for 36 years, more than a generation of that. We had that social credit government from 1935 to 1971. That's almost the Pauline's lifetime, well into my lifetime. I was about 17 years old when we finally tossed those creeps. But they still survive, and they basically, they've taken over the Conservative Party in Canada.
Well,
Stephen Harper was the right-hand man for Preston Manning, son of,
what was his name? I'm forgetting his first name, his dad's name, but he was the second last premier, so-called premier here in Alberta. Stephen Harper just comes from that scumbuggy sort of thing, and I think Stockwell Day, I don't know if he was old enough to be in the so-called party, but Per Polyev, this federally, is
protege of some description or another or was of Stockwell Day. I don't know if that guy's alive. Stockwell, if you're still alive, you should have died of embarrassment. Get around to it.
why?
Because he was embarrassing.
A lot of people were a fan.
what was that?
A lot of people liked the guy.
A lot of people liked Adolf Hitler. Stockwell's not as bad as Adolf Hitler, but he sure is a doofus, or was a doofus if he's dead.
Boy, these shoes are really falling apart. They only lasted one hiking season.
Well, we put things through.
I
I've
guess
had
that's
shoes
true.
not even last the hiking season. There's second-hand shoes, but those were very new when
Yeah.
you got them. Not that you got them new, but it looked as though they'd never been used.
I got them from the Mormon clothes giveaway last year, and I'm very happy about them. They're
Well,
very nice. They just.
I got to
I'm
thank
surprised
the
they didn't
Mormons
last
for
so
putting
long.
that on. You know, I would talk freely about the Mormon Church and stuff like that, but same sort of thing with Jehovah's Witness or Hutterites or whatever. The Roman Catholic Church. I'll try to point out
Where they got something going with. Recently on CBC they were talking about having a celebration amongst Filipinos of a freedom fighter against the Spanish.
and I'm going, yeah, that's good. Yeah. So the Philippines were named after a Spanish king. Maybe Philip II or something like that. And the Philippines were
Controlled by Spain in one form or another. I guess it wouldn't have been right with Magellan, but Magellan's crew would have put a claim on it. And that's what, 1534? They weren't kicked out of there, the Spaniards weren't until 1898.
Oh, this is still
and
very
my
cold.
granddad was alive, very much alive. I think he was 16 years old at that point in time. And my dad was only born 25 years after that. But the important thing about the Spaniards is they were punted by the Americans. And the Americans gave up the Philippines as a colony right after World War II. I think it was 46. So it was exactly 45. But what they should celebrate actually is Magellan's landing there, because that stopped. You see, like the Europeans gave up their colonies. And many of them gave up their colonies, although the Spaniards didn't dare. Grudgingly, but without a fight. The English were better than, let's say, the French. etc., etc. But I'm telling you, the Muslims were heading north in the Philippines when the Spaniards under Magellan landed there. And the Filipinos should just get down on their knees. And you don't expect the people in Mindanao, the Muslims, but the ones in the north, and just thank God in heaven or whomever, if just the stars or something like that, if they're agnostic or atheist, for Magellan coming in there and stopping that spread. It's stunning. It's spread from the Atlantic, Islam, Morocco, all the way to the Pacific, into the Pacific, the southern part of the Philippines, almost all of Indonesia. Stunning. And what it did in places where it took over the traditional centers of civilization, the three earliest, Mesopotamia, now in essence Iraq, Egypt, and then those were roughly started the same period of time. And they'd been around longer by the time Jesus turned up than we have gone after Jesus. So those civilizations were 2,500 years old when Jesus came on. More than 2,500 years old. The traditional dating for both dates back to about 3,000 BC. 3,000 years old. And they invented writing. Third place to invent writing was Indus Valley. That's Pakistan now. I don't know what the last stats I ran across, which was this millennium, about 2004, 2005, indicated Egypt. Co-inventor of writing had a 73% literacy rate. You know, like the English only started to develop writing after 500 AD. That's 3,000 years after the Egyptians, plus. And they have roughly 100% literacy rate, a little bit under. Inexcusable. Absolutely inexcusable. It's a little bit higher in Iraq, considerably higher, or it was. I don't know what it is in the Indus Valley, present-day Pakistan, the land of the pure, but I'm pretty sure it's below what it was in Iraq and stuff like that. Everywhere it's gone, Islam has gone, it has stunted civilization. So people go around and say, it's a civilization, you know, it's another. No, it stunts civilization. You only have to look at history. I know it hurts a lot of people to look at history because it ends up showing stuff that they don't want to know about. They want to think that capitalism is the original sin, and being white actually is maybe the original sin, but it's just not that way. I'm not saying white people have been wonderful and stuff like that, but you know, like terrorism and stuff like that, state terrorism was invented at least by the ancient Assyrians. It's stunning. I'm not going to quote examples of stuff they did because Pauline finds it gruesome. I used to find it gruesome, but that's like 9/11. The Neo-Assyrian Empire started 9/11, well, even before 9/11 BC. That's when the eponym it starts. So before 9/11 BC, you know, is well before the Nazis. You know, it's more than a couple of years before the Nazis, more than a couple of centuries. It's actually 900. It's more than 2 millennia before the Nazis, and you know, like. The Assyrians were of color. We've got Egyptian renderings of them in paint, and they painted them the same color as themselves. They painted a certain group of people that only a silly person would not identify as Sumerians, and the Sumerians actually were fair-haired and with fair skin, white skin. But yeah, so no color group or anything like that has or no so-called race has any monopoly on, despite what Susan Sontag, or Sontag, that would be mispronounced. Her name actually is German for Sunday. She said something to the effect that white race is the cancer of history. No, it's not. It's not. Hasn't been that grand, but it hasn't been that bad either. About par for the course. Indo-Europeans, for a long while, weren't that nice. The Mongolians weren't that nice. Then they got Buddhist religion. Some Indo-Europeans got the Christian religion. Some of them are awful. I mean, the Vikings were horrible. And then they got a Christian religion, and then they got something like social democracy, and now they're one of the most specific groups of people in the world, Scandinavians. But they were barbarians up until they converted to Christianity, and that's only about 1,000 years.
I'm not that hugely thrilled about Christianity, particularly the Roman Catholic manifestations of it, or the David Koresh manifestations of it. Don't leave the Seventh-day Adventist out of it, because I think it's a splinter group. Yeah, history is there so we can learn lessons from it. People don't like it, and a lot of people don't. All sorts of sides of the political spectrum, up, down, front, backwards, right, left, and they don't like it. But that's the way it goes, and a lot of people are just impervious to stats and all that sort of stuff. They don't want to know the stats of particular religions and so on and so. Except like the 6 million killed in the Jewish Holocaust by the Germans. But as many of the people are going around saying, "Oh, weren't the Nazis awful?" They're all for Hamas. You get a guy who wasn't all for Hamas or their predecessors, a guy called an Arab, but he came from a Christian Arab background. I don't think he's anything near Christian. Edward Said kept on saying, it was a sound chump for him, "We Arabs were the victims of the victims. Victimized by Jews or victimized by Germans." No. If you're part of it, understand, I'm not changing the subject. I'm giving you an analogy. When you contribute to a crime that turns into a murder, you're as guilty as someone who pulls the trigger, or whatever. Mm-hmm. The Palestinians were guilty of not allowing Jewish refugees come into Palestine well before Hitler started the final solution. Palestinians are as guilty for 6 million deaths in that sense. 6 million dead Jews
Albert, can you come?
as the Germans, because they were preventing Jews from coming from their traditional homeland. Their homeland that the Arabs stole
Come on, monkeys. Let's go.
relatively late in history. Just because it's more recent or something like that, a long time from the recent stuff, doesn't